You're sitting at your desk on a Monday morning. HR just sent you that email, you know the one. Welcome to the company, here's your benefits enrollment guide. You click the link, and suddenly you're staring at terms like 401k, Traditional IRA, Roth IRA, 403b, employer match, vesting schedule, target date fund, and a little voice in the back of your head whispers, I have no idea what any of this means. So, you do what most people do. You pick the default option. You check a box, you close the tab, and you tell yourself you'll figure it out later. Except later turns into next year turns into 5 years, and 5 years turns into you sitting at your kitchen table at 52 trying to do the math on whether you can actually afford to retire. If that hit a little too close to home, stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand every single one of those accounts better than 95% of the people walking into that same HR office tomorrow. Here's the thing most people don't realize. Retirement isn't failing because people aren't working hard. It's failing because nobody ever sat them down and explained how the game is actually played. The typical working American, according to a report released this year by the National Institute on Retirement Security, has less than $1,000 saved for retirement. Not $100,000, $1,000. And the average person says they'd need around $1.5 million to retire comfortably. That gap, right there, is the entire problem. My name is James, and I spend way too much time thinking about the mechanics of how retirement accounts actually work. If you're someone who looks at the alphabet soup of 401ks, IRAs, and Roths and feels your brain start to shut down, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out, because we're about to break this whole thing down into something that actually makes sense.
Okay, look, before we get into each account, you need to understand what a retirement account actually is. And this is where most finance videos lose people, so I'm going to use an analogy that's stuck with me. Think of a retirement account like a Tupperware container. The container itself isn't the food, it's just a container. The food is the investments inside. Stocks, bonds, index funds, those are what actually grow your money. The container just decides how the government taxes that food. And here's what's wild. There are 4 main types of containers the government lets you use, and each one has different rules about when you get taxed and how much. So when someone tells you they have a 401k, that doesn't actually tell you anything about their investments. It just tells you which container they're using. The investments inside that container are a completely separate decision. Get this concept, and everything else starts to click. All right, let's start with container number 1. The 401k. This is the workhorse. The 401k is a retirement account that your employer offers you, and here's the magic. The money gets pulled straight from your paycheck before it hits your bank account, before taxes. So if you make $80,000 a year and you contribute $10,000 to your 401k, the IRS only sees you as having made $70,000. You just made $10,000 invisible to the tax man. That's the trade-off. You don't pay taxes on that money now, you pay taxes on it when you pull it out in retirement. In 2026, the IRS lets you contribute up to $24,500 a year to your 401k if you're under 50. If you're 50 or older, you get an extra $8,000 in catch-up contributions. And if you're between 60 and 63, there's a special super catch-up of $11,250. The government is basically begging older workers to save more because they know how far behind most people are. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most 401k plans come with something called an employer match. This is where your company says, hey, if you put money in, we'll put money in too. A typical match looks something like this. Your company matches 100% of your contribution up to 5% of your salary. Meaning, if you make $80,000 and you put in 5%, that's $4,000. Your employer throws in another $4,000. You just made a 100% return on your money before you even bought a single investment. This is the closest thing to free money the financial world will ever hand you. And according to estimates from benefits research firms, Americans leave billions of dollars in employer match on the table every single year because they don't contribute enough to get it. That's not a typo. Billions with a B. Okay, container number 2, the IRA. That stands for Individual Retirement Arrangement. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say anything about your employer. That's the point. An IRA is something you open on your own, completely separate from your job. You could open one tomorrow at Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab. It takes about 10 minutes. In 2026, you can contribute up to $7,500 to an IRA, or $8,600 if you're 50 or older. Here's what most people don't realize. You can have a 401k and an IRA at the same time. They don't cancel each other out. They stack. So theoretically, in 2026, an under 50 worker could sock away the full $24,500 into a 401k and another $7,500 into an IRA. That's $32,000 of tax-advantaged retirement savings in 1 year. Try explaining that to a coworker next week and watch their jaw hit the floor. Now here's where we hit the fork in the road, the tax fork. And this is the part that trips everybody up, because each of these accounts, the 401k and the IRA, comes in 2 flavors, traditional and Roth. Same container, totally different tax rules. With the traditional account, you don't pay taxes on the money going in, but you pay taxes on everything coming out. So your contributions grow tax-deferred, and when you retire and start pulling money out, every dollar gets taxed as income. With the Roth account, you pay taxes on the money going in. But once it's in there, the government never taxes it again. Not the growth, not the withdrawals, nothing. You put in after-tax dollars, and 40 years later, you pull out $1 million. And the IRS doesn't see a dime of it. This is where it gets really interesting. The decision between traditional and Roth comes down to one question. Do you think your tax rate is going to be higher now or later? If you think you'll be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, Roth wins. If you think you'll be in a lower bracket, traditional wins. Here's what most people don't realize. For younger workers, especially anyone in their 20s or 30s making a normal salary, Roth is almost always the play, because your income is probably going to grow. Your tax bracket is probably going to grow. And locking in today's tax rate for the next 40 years of growth is a massive, massive win. Einstein allegedly called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. Tax-free compound interest? That's wonder number 9. Now, real quick, let me flag something important. There are income limits on the Roth IRA. In 2026, if you're single and making over $168,000, or married filing jointly over $252,000, you can't directly contribute to a Roth IRA. There's a workaround called the backdoor Roth, but that's a video for another day. The Roth 401k, on the other hand, no income limits. Doesn't matter if you make $50,000 or $500,000. If your employer offers it, you can use it. And more employers are offering it every year. All right, container number 4, the 403b. If you work for a public school, a hospital, a church, or a nonprofit, listen up. The 403b is basically the 401k's cousin. Same contribution limit in 2026, $24,500. Same catch-up rules, same traditional or Roth options. If you're a teacher, a nurse, or you work for a 501c3, this is your account. Historically, 403b plans had a reputation for being loaded with high-fee annuity products, and some still are. So if you have one, check your fees. Look for the low-cost index fund options. A 1% extra fee over 30 years can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not exaggerating. Okay, so now you know the 4 containers, but knowing what they are isn't enough. You need to know the order of operations. Here's how it should go. Step 1. Contribute to your 401k or 403b up to the employer match. Full stop. Before you do anything else, get that match. Free money first. Step 2.
Once you've captured the match, pause the 401k and go open a Roth IRA. Max it out if you can. Why? Because your 401k plan options are limited to whatever your employer picked. Your IRA lets you invest in almost anything. Way more flexibility, usually way lower fees. Step 3. Once your IRA is maxed out, go back to your 401k and keep filling it until you hit that $24,500 limit. Step 4. If you still have money left over, then and only then do you start investing in a regular taxable brokerage account. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people skip straight to the last step. They open a Robinhood account, start buying stocks, and completely skip the tax-advantaged containers. They're literally giving the IRS a percentage of their returns for no reason. If you invest $20,000 a year, starting at age 25, assuming a 7% return, you'll have over $4 million by 65. Start at 35 instead, less than $2 million. The 10 years you wait costs you more than $2 million. Time is the real currency here, not the dollars. So here's what I want you to do this week. Log into your employer's benefits portal, find out what your employer match is, and make sure you're contributing enough to get all of it. Then, if you don't have one already, open a Roth IRA with Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab. Takes 10 minutes. Set up an automatic monthly transfer, even if it's $50. The amount matters less than the habit, because retirement isn't won in a single moment. It's one in 1,000 small decisions made over decades, while everyone else is waiting for the right time to start. The right time is today. If this video helped or shifted your outlook on retirement accounts, do me a favor. Share it with someone who just started their first real job, because they're the ones who will benefit the most from knowing this early. I'll see you on the next one.